The weight of it, it was a crushing weight, a constant pressure in my chest, a feeling that mirrored, almost mockingly, the physical pain that would soon consume me. It wasn't just the usual responsibilities of an imam, leading prayers, delivering sermons, counseling the community, performing marriages and funerals. It was something deeper, something more insidious. It was the growing chasm between the ancient wisdom of Islam and the rapidly shifting landscape of the modern world. And the most heartbreaking part? Seeing that chasm widening within the hearts of our youth. It was like watching a slow, agonizing erosion, the very foundation of our faith crumbling before my eyes. And the strangest thing, the thing that keeps circling back to me, even now, is a single image, a stained glass window, depicting a scene I'd only ever encountered in books, a scene from the other Abrahamic faiths. Jesus, surrounded by children, his hand resting gently on the head of a young boy. That image, so foreign to my daily life, yet so profoundly connected to what I was about to experience, is where my story truly begins. A story of how my heart stopped and how my soul finally awakened. My name is Hassan Al-Mansoor. I am, or perhaps was, a 52-year-old imam. I serve a small but vibrant mosque in Dearborn, Michigan, a community rich in diversity, a tapestry woven with the threads of countless cultures and traditions. My family immigrated here from Lebanon when I was a young boy, seeking refuge from the turmoil that had engulfed our homeland. We found not only refuge, but opportunity, a chance to build a new life, to practice our faith freely, to contribute to the vibrant mosaic of American society. I grew up immersed in the teachings of Islam, the beauty of the Quran, the profound wisdom of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I felt a calling, a deep and unwavering desire to serve my community, to share the light of Islam with others, to guide and support my fellow Muslims on their spiritual journeys. For years, I believed I was succeeding. Our mosque was thriving, the community was growing, and I felt a sense of fulfillment in my role as imam. I poured my heart and soul into my work, striving to be a pillar of strength, a source of comfort, a beacon of hope for those who sought guidance. I delivered sermons that resonated with the congregation, I counseled families through difficult times, I celebrated the joys of birth and marriage, and I mourned the losses of those who had passed on. But beneath the surface, a quiet unease was growing, a sense of inadequacy. A feeling that I was failing to reach the most vulnerable, the most impressionable members of our community, the youth. The world outside the mosque was a whirlwind of distractions, of temptations, of competing ideologies. The internet, social media, the relentless pursuit of material success, it all seemed to be pulling our young people further and further away from the core values of our faith. They questioned, they doubted, they challenged the traditions that had been passed down through generations. They struggled to reconcile the ancient teachings of Islam with the complexities of the modern world, with the scientific advancements, with the social and political upheavals that seemed to shake the very foundations of their belief. I tried. I truly did. I organized youth groups. I held interfaith dialogues. I even attempted to incorporate technology into our religious education programs, but it felt forced, artificial, like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I saw the glazed over eyes, the restless fidgeting, the barely concealed yawns during my sermons. I heard the whispers, the complaints, the accusations that Islam was outdated, irrelevant, out of touch with the realities of their lives. It was like watching my own children drift away from me, their faces becoming increasingly unfamiliar, their voices echoing from a distant shore. My own son, Kareem, a bright, intelligent young man, had started questioning the very existence of God. He'd become fascinated by science, by the theories of evolution and the Big Bang, and he struggled to reconcile these scientific explanations with the creation story as presented in the Quran. I tried to reason with him to explain that science and religion were not mutually exclusive, that they could coexist, that they could even complement each other, but my words seemed to fall on deaf ears. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and frustration, as if I were a relic of a bygone era, clinging to outdated beliefs that had no place in the modern world. The weight of this failure, this inability to connect with the younger generation, pressed down on me like a physical burden. I felt like I was losing them, losing the future of our community, losing the very essence of our faith. I questioned my own abilities, my own understanding of Islam, my own worthiness to lead. Am I doing enough? Am I saying the right things? Am I failing God? These questions haunted me, eroding my confidence, casting a shadow over my sense of purpose. I prayed, I fasted, I sought solace in the Quran, but the answers remained elusive. The silence was deafening. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Friday, the day of Jummah prayer, the most important congregational prayer of the week. The mosque was packed, filled with the familiar faces of my community, their eyes turned towards me, expecting guidance, inspiration, a connection to the divine. I remember feeling a sharp, searing pain in my chest, a sudden shortness of breath. I tried to ignore it, to push through, to deliver the sermon I had so carefully prepared. But the pain intensified, spreading like wildfire through my body. I gasped for air, my vision blurring, the sounds of the mosque fading into a distant hum. The last thing I remember is the look of terror on the faces of the congregation, the frantic rush of bodies towards me, and the feeling of falling into an endless abyss. The doctors later told me I had suffered a massive heart attack. My heart had stopped beating. For 4 minutes, they said, I was clinically dead. 4 minutes. A fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of time, yet an eternity in the realm of consciousness. And in those 4 minutes, my world exploded. It dissolved and reformed, revealing a reality far beyond my comprehension, a dimension of existence that defied all earthly limitations. I found myself floating, not in a physical sense, not in the way we understand gravity and buoyancy in our earthly bodies. It was a feeling of weightlessness, of liberation, of pure, unadulterated being. I could see my body below, lying motionless on the floor of the mosque, surrounded by a circle of panicked figures. I saw my wife Fatima, her face contorted with grief, her hands desperately trying to revive me, her voice choked with sobs. I saw my son Kareem, his eyes wide with a terror I had never seen before, his usual skepticism replaced by a raw, primal fear. But strangely, I felt no fear, no panic, no attachment to the scene unfolding below, only peace, an overwhelming sense of tranquility, of belonging, of homecoming. Then I was drawn, not forcefully, but gently, irresistibly, towards a light. It wasn't a harsh, blinding light like the glare of the sun. It was a soft, warm, radiant glow, emanating a love that was both profound and unconditional. It felt like being embraced by the universe itself, being welcomed into the heart of creation. And within that light, I began to perceive forms, shapes, beings of pure energy, radiating compassion, wisdom, and an understanding that transcended all earthly limitations. They didn't communicate with words, not in the way we use them to convey meaning. They communicated with thoughts, feelings, instantaneous understandings that flowed directly into my consciousness, bypassing the limitations of language and logic. And then I saw him. I know, it sounds unbelievable. An imam, a devout Muslim, encountering Jesus. But there he was, not as he is often depicted in Western art, with long flowing hair and a gentle demeanor. He was different, more real. He stood in what looked like a garden. Lush, verdant, filled with flowers of every imaginable color and fragrance. Children were playing, laughing, their faces radiant with joy. He was surrounded by them, interacting with them, not as a distant authority figure, but as a friend, a playmate, a loving guide. It was that image, the stained glass depiction come to life, the children gathered around him, that resonated so deeply, connecting to the core of my earthly struggles. He smiled at me, a smile that reached his eyes and filled me with a sense of recognition, of profound, inexplicable belonging, and he began to show me. He opened my mind, my heart, my very soul to a series of visions, scenes, not from my own life, but from the lives of others. Young people struggling with their faith, grappling with the challenges of the modern world, searching for meaning, for purpose, for connection. I saw a young woman struggling with depression, feeling isolated and alone, convinced that God had abandoned her. I saw a young man caught in the grip of addiction, desperately seeking an escape from the pain and emptiness of his life. I saw a group of teenagers gathered in a park, debating the existence of God, their arguments fueled by a mixture of skepticism, curiosity, and a deep-seated longing for something to believe in. And then he showed me something more. He showed me the potential, the untapped potential within each of these young people. The light that still flickered within them even in the midst of their darkness, the yearning for connection, for meaning, for purpose, that burned beneath the surface of their doubts and struggles. He showed me that they were not lost, that they were not beyond redemption, that they were in fact the key to the future of our faith, the key to the survival of our community, the key to the realization of God's plan for humanity. That's when the central message came, not in a booming voice, but in a gentle, loving presence, a feeling of profound understanding. It was the feeling of those children in the garden, their uninhibited joy, their trust in the figure before them. It was the understanding that this is what was missing, this connection, this genuine, heartfelt engagement with the youth. He didn't speak in specific words. The message came through understanding. The emphasis was on reaching out, on meeting them where they were, on understanding their struggles, their doubts, their questions. It wasn't about imposing rigid doctrines or outdated traditions. It was about listening, about empathizing, about showing them through our actions, through our words, through our very being that Islam was a living faith, a relevant faith, a faith that could provide them with the guidance, the support, the love they so desperately craved. He showed me how the spiritual realm views the youth as precious jewels, as beacons of hope, as the future architects of a better world. The angels, the beings of light, are deeply invested in their well-being, in their spiritual growth, in their ability to fulfill their divine potential. It's not about condemning their choices or judging their struggles, but about guiding them, nurturing them, empowering them to become the best versions of themselves. The kingdom of God, the realm of the divine, is built on the foundation of love, compassion, and understanding, and the youth are the living embodiment of these values. They are the future stewards of this planet, the inheritors of our legacy, and it is our sacred duty to prepare them for this responsibility. He emphasized the urgency. It wasn't something that could be postponed, something that could be addressed at some future date. It was a now thing, a right now thing. The youth are slipping away, and we, the older generation, the leaders of the community, have a responsibility to reach out, to bridge the gap, to build a connection before it's too late. He showed me a vision of the future, a future where the mosque was empty, where the voices of the youth were silenced, where the light of Islam had been extinguished. And then he showed me an alternative future, a future where the mosque was vibrant and alive, where the voices of the youth were heard and respected, where the light of Islam shone brightly, illuminating the world. The choice he made clear was ours. When I came back, when the paramedics finally managed to restart my heart, I felt different, transformed. The weight that had been pressing down on me for so long was gone, replaced by a sense of lightness, of purpose, of renewed hope. The fear, the doubt, the uncertainty that had plagued me, it had all been washed away by that overwhelming wave of love and understanding. My perspective on everything has changed. I still lead the prayers, I still deliver sermons, I still counsel the community, but I do it with a different heart, a different mind, a different spirit. My focus is now unequivocally on the youth. I spend hours listening to them, talking to them, understanding their concerns, their struggles, their dreams. I've started a new youth program at the mosque, not a traditional religious education program, but a space where they can come together, share their thoughts, express their doubts, ask their questions without fear of judgment or condemnation. We discuss everything from science and technology to social justice and political activism, always seeking to find the connections between these contemporary issues and the timeless wisdom of Islam. I've even started incorporating technology into our gatherings using social media, online forums, and video conferencing to connect with young people who might not otherwise feel comfortable attending traditional religious services. I've learned to speak their language, to understand their culture, to meet them where they are, rather than expecting them to conform to my outdated expectations. My relationship with Kareem has also undergone a profound transformation. I no longer try to force him to believe, to accept my views without question. Instead, I listen to him. I engage with his questions. I encourage his curiosity. We have long, open, honest conversations about science, about religion, about the meaning of life, and slowly, gradually, I see a shift in him. He's still questioning, still searching, but he's no longer rejecting Islam outright. He's starting to see the beauty, the wisdom, the relevance of our faith, not as a set of rigid rules and regulations, but as a path to self-discovery, to spiritual growth, to a deeper connection with the divine. Before I share the incredible conversation I had with Kareem after my return, a conversation that revealed a dream he had, a dream that mirrored my own experience in a way that defies rational explanation, a dream that confirmed the urgency of our mission. Could you do me a small favor? I'm truly curious to know where this message is reaching, how far the story is spreading. Would you mind taking a moment to write the city and country where you're watching this in the comment section below? I promise to read every single one. It would mean the world to me to connect with you, even in this small virtual way. My experience, those 4 minutes of clinical death, taught me that life is not about clinging to the past, but about embracing the future. It's not about imposing our beliefs on others, but about inspiring them to find their own truth. It's not about fearing change, but about adapting to it, evolving with it, growing with it. And it's about recognizing that the youth are not our problem, they are our solution, they are the future of our faith, future of our community, the future of humanity. And it is our sacred duty, our moral obligation, to nurture them, to guide them, to empower them to become the leaders, the innovators, the peacemakers, the world changers they are destined to be. The youth are our future, and our future is now. Go out there and connect, listen, and embrace the change. The future of faith might just depend on it.